Unsettling wilderness encounters. The fire lookout encounter. In 2015, I embarked on a road trip to a forest a few hours from home, aiming to explore an abandoned fire lookout tower. Though entering or camping there was technically prohibited due to its unstable condition, online forums suggested it was still viable, with the latest update from 3 years prior. I parked in a roadside ditch, grabbed my backpack with 2 days' supplies, and began a 4 to 5 hour hike. The route lacked trails, so I relied on a handheld satellite GPS to navigate the dense, rugged wilderness. Upon arrival, the tower peaked above the trees, appearing weathered but structurally sound. Its paint faded, yet support beams firm. The metal ladder creaked as I climbed, leading to a stunning view of endless forest. The small 150 square foot room housed a decaying bed, a rotting desk, and large windows, where I set up my mattress and cooked a meal. As sunset darkened the cloudy sky, I noticed a flickering orange light below, resembling a torch, moving through the trees, odd given the remote location and lack of trails. After it vanished, I stayed on the ledge, enjoying the quiet, until I spotted a figure below, staring up. I called out, but they only raised a hand before disappearing into the woods without a light. Assuming another hiker, I returned inside, though sleep was fitful with wind and creaking beams. Later, I awoke to the ladder creaking someone was climbing. Rushing to the ledge, I found no one, but footsteps raced behind me. Panicked, I descended the slippery ladder, glimpsing a figure above, and fled with my gear into the woods. Guided by my flashlight and GPS, I reached my car, unfollowed, and drove away, vowing never to return, haunted by the mystery of that night. The lake footprints incident. I camped at a secluded lake for a weekend, a spot my dad introduced me to as a kid, accessible via an unmarked footpath known only to locals. In all my visits, I'd never encountered others or signs of activity. The first day was peaceful setting up camp and relaxing by the water. The second day, while circling the lake, I noticed fresh barefoot footprints near the tree line, distinct and unseen on prior laps, despite the clear dirt. The lake's edge offered no easy water access, ruling out swimming, which intensified my unease. The prints led into the woods, but I avoided following, returning to camp with growing paranoia. As dusk fell, I stoked a campfire, struggling to distract myself. Hours later, footsteps approached 2 sets. A man and woman emerged at the fire's edge, their features obscured. I offered help. The woman fled, while the man, barefoot, stood silently before also retreating. Terrified, I packed quickly and left, extinguishing the fire. The 2-hour hike back was tense, with distant running footsteps, likely barefoot, stalking me in bursts. Reaching my truck, I escaped, puzzled by their identity and intent, wondering if they were even real, and never returned. The van camping scare. A couple of years ago, at 24, I lived in a camper van, traveling the West Coast, preferring remote backcountry sites over cities for safety and solitude. Between 2 Washington cities, I took a dirt trail deep into the forest, finding a secluded pull-off with a stone fire ring. It was mid-spring, rainy, so I cooked inside, closing the door as rain intensified. Watching a show on my laptop, a sudden light glare from the rear window vanished instantly. Peering out, I saw nothing in the dark, assuming another camper's headlights, though the light came from the tree side, not the trail. Rain and thunder masked noises, but I stayed alert. Around 10 or 11 p.m., unable to sleep amid the storm, I heard a branch snap outside. Minutes later, a whispered male voice and bending plastic at the side door unnerved me. Knocks followed, then a claim of "Sheriff's Department, open up," which I doubted why not state it first. Lifting the window cover, I saw a figure without law gear. Deciding to flee, I started the van as 2 sets of footsteps approached. I drove off, seeing no other vehicle, and reported it to the county, who denied officer presence, leaving the encounter unresolved but uneventful since. Chilling rural encounters. The whistling intruder. At 28, after my divorce, I relocated to Cheatham, Alabama, settling into my late grandfather's house, a 10-acre property 10 minutes outside town. encircled by woods. The old home, with creaky wood floors and drafty rooms, offered quiet solitude, though it felt perpetually chilly. Initial days were uneventful unpacking, cleaning, and relaxing on the porch with a beer, soothed by nature's sounds. On the seventh night, around midnight, a strange, off-key whistling broke the silence, seeming to drift from the woods behind the house. Assuming it was a hunter or neighbor, I dismissed it. But the next night, it returned closer. Checking with a flashlight revealed nothing, no tracks, just the tune fading deeper into the trees. It persisted nightly around 1:15 a.m., prompting a call to the sheriff. Deputy H, a veteran officer, recalled my grandfather reporting the same springtime whistling, never solved. He advised locking doors and staying indoors. The sounds grew louder behind the shed, then the porch, and finally under the floorboards via vents. Uneasy, I found my grandfather's journals in the attic, detailing a decade of similar experiences, often when alone after my grandmother's passing. Arming myself with a shotgun, I waited. One night, the whistling came from inside the hallway. Shouting, I found no one, but 2 nights later, knocking from the back door, and footsteps in the dark hallway preceded a figure in black, pale-faced at the hall's end. Trembling, I yelled, fired a shot into the darkness as they fled, and drove to town, sleeping in my truck. The next day, Deputy H found the front door unlocked, suggesting a key holder, and urged me to change locks and consider moving. I did, leaving the house to my dad to sell, haunted by the unknown intruder's intent. The Mintfield misadventure. Growing up in a tiny countryside village of 90 people, I roamed freely from a young age, knowing every car and resident. At 7, on a scorching summer day, my friend Julian and I, desperate for Coca-Cola, accepted an old woman's offer to gather mint leaves for her birthday tea in exchange for soda. Struggling under the blazing sun, we barely filled half a bag when 2 tall teens clad in black hoodies and pants approached. Their friendly, careful tone asked if we were alone. Julian's worried gesture to leave went unnoticed by me as I cheerfully explained our task, asking for mint locations. One crouched, patting my head, but Julian pulled me back, asking their parents' names, a local identifier. Unrecognized and evasive, they offered to lead us to a mint field on a hill we knew held only corn and grapes. Ignoring Julian's unease, I followed. But as the village faded, panic set in. There was no field. Their vague responses and my friend's whisper, "There's something wrong, run," triggered a frantic 2-kilometer dash downhill. Tears streaming, we reached the woman, who scolded Julian for leading us astray. The teens vanished mid-chase. Years later, I shudder at the risk and owe my safety to Julian, now my boyfriend, suspecting their sinister intent. The countryside stalker. As a 7-year-old, I spent summers at my grandparents' Texas countryside home, while my parents, working multiple jobs in Oklahoma, arranged care. Our babysitter, Michelle, a lively 20-something, helped with online classes for me and my 8-year-old brother, Cam. In summer, my parents sent her on vacation, opting to leave us with grandparents. The drive was tedious, but the cabin, surrounded by fields and woods with a barn, was welcoming. That night, after playing with their dog Cora, Cam and I slept in a bunk room with the TV on. Around 2 a.m., heavy footsteps and a grunt at my window woke me. My parents dismissed it as an animal, but the next day, walking Cora, I saw a black figure peering from the woods. Grandpa called it a deer, though it vanished instantly. That night, humming to a cartoon tune outside my window startled me. Thinking it was Grandpa, I went out, but a younger hand gripped mine, leading me toward the barn with a hidden axe. Grandpa's call distracted the man, allowing me to escape. Police found him in a ditch with stolen barn items and the axe, revealing him as Michelle's ex, Dave, planning to abduct me to manipulate her. Grateful for Grandpa's timing and the nearby station, my parents later prioritized being home, letting Michelle go, leaving me thankful yet chilled by the near miss. Unsettling nighttime encounters. The mysterious car and home intruder. A few months ago, I worked overnight shifts at a warehouse, maintaining a sleep schedule from 6 p.m. to 9 or 10 a.m., even on days off. After a shift ending at 4 a.m., I arrived home around 4:15 to find an old black sedan with tinted windows parked beside my driveway in my spaced-out neighborhood. The car's lights were off, and I couldn't see inside. Assuming it was a neighbor's visitor, I parked in my garage and went inside. An hour later, the car was gone. The next night, after another tiring shift, the same car reappeared in the same spot. Approaching closer, I thought I saw movement inside, but couldn't confirm it. I photographed the license plate for safety and went inside, noting the car vanished again later. On my night off, I took a long neighborhood walk, returning to find the car back. This time, I peered inside. It was empty, offering no clues. Inside, a motion alert from my bedroom security camera revealed a brief clip of a figure, head and shoulders, passing by while I was out. Panicked, I heard footsteps behind me as I fled downstairs and into the woods, calling 911. Police arrested a man in his mid-20s using the license plate photo, finding photos of my house and my schedule on his phone. He'd likely entered undetected, possibly knowing my camera placements, and this may not have been his first break-in. The experience still haunts me. The suspicious Uber passenger. 4 years ago, as an Uber driver, I worked a stormy night with few pickups. After waiting in a parking lot and grabbing food, I accepted a request 25 minutes away, with a drop-off 20 minutes further, likely due to scarce drivers. The drive felt endless on deserted roads, leading to a remote intersection of empty fields. No one was there when I arrived, but a drenched man with an agitated demeanor suddenly entered my car, confirming his identity by stating my name. He sat in the middle back seat, his uneasy vibe growing as we drove deeper into uninhabited areas. Attempting to ease my nerves, I asked why he was out in the storm, but he avoided the question, growing antsier. Abruptly, he demanded I drop him off on a desolate stretch. As he hesitated at the door, he glanced at my phone displaying the Uber app, then checked his own device, likely realizing his info was logged. I canceled the ride to reassure him, hoping to avoid trouble. He left, vanishing into the storm. I reported his behavior to the police, and days later learned someone went missing near the pickup spot that night. Evidence was lost to the storm, and neither the man nor the missing person was found. I feel fortunate to have escaped potential harm. The rainy night break-in. In early April, after a grueling shift at my partially outdoor job, I drove 30 minutes through rain to my rural home. Noticing unfamiliar tire tracks in my muddy driveway, I assumed a mail truck had visited, but found no deliveries. Inside, I changed out of my soaked uniform and cooked dinner. Around 7:30 p.m., a faint knock at the front door prompted me to check. But no one was there, just rain and wind. An hour later, I noticed mud on my white tile floor behind the couch. Odd, since I hadn't worn shoes inside. Uneasy, I moved to my bedroom upstairs to feel safer, continuing my show on a small TV. A muffled thump outside my door reignited my fear. The hallway was empty, but downstairs the living room TV blared my show at full volume. Racing down, I found the room empty, turned off the TV, and grabbed a kitchen knife to search the house. In the upstairs spare room, I found the downstairs TV remote by the closet, proof someone was inside. I fled, calling the police, who found a broken downstairs window lock. The intruder had likely visited earlier, returned to break in, and used the TV as a distraction to escape while I was upstairs, leaving no clear motive or stolen items. A chilling reminder of their unseen presence. Eerie work night encounters, the phantom door at the pizzeria. In my mid-20s, I worked at a modest 24/7 pizza shop, handling deliveries and a few dine-in tables. The food was average, but the late-night hours attracted a steady stream of unsteady customers. I enjoyed the solitude of working alone, managing simple tasks, and using slow periods to relax. One Tuesday at 9 p.m., I took over from the day manager, expecting a quiet shift. After prepping the kitchen and serving a few early customers, The night grew silent by 1 a.m. Hearing the doorbell, I checked the front, but found no one, chalking it up to my mind playing tricks. 15 minutes later, the bell rang again with no one present, even after I stepped outside to scan the empty sidewalk and parking lot. Confused but not alarmed, I tested the door. It only rang when opened. After waiting 30 minutes with no repeat, I returned to the kitchen. Around 2:43 a.m., the bell sounded again. Calling out got no reply, so I dismissed it. By 4 a.m., prepping for the next shift, an odd sensation of being watched crept in. A sudden thump behind me revealed a man in tattered black clothes and a hoodie, his bloodshot eyes hollow, clutching a knife. Frozen, I offered the register cash, but he stared blankly. Diving over the counter, I escaped as he chased me outside. He stopped pursuit, later trashing the shop and scratching my car. Likely, he'd used the bell as a distraction, hiding inside for an hour, his intent unclear, possibly targeting me personally, though never identified. The suspicious forest delivery. A couple of years ago, juggling a 9-to-5 job and delivery gigs to save for a condo, I worked 30 extra hours weekly. One night, starting at 6:30 p.m. after dinner, I enjoyed a profitable run of well-tipped orders. Greed kept me going past 11 p.m., despite slowing demand, until a $20 order 15 minutes away tempted me. The quiet drive led to a wooded area I didn't know housed residences, ending at a gravel road with an unlatched gate. Beyond it, my dim headlights revealed a parking area, not a house, marked as a forest preserve. Confused, as these typically closed by 8 or 9 p.m., I answered a call from a gruff male voice claiming he was camping with friends, visible via a campfire off-trail. Trusting his explanation that overnight camping was allowed, I grabbed the food and followed the lone trail, using my phone as a flashlight. The silence was eerie, with only wind and crickets, until I reached a lone campfire, no tents or people. A stick snap revealed a distant figure. Announcing my presence, I set the food down. A tall, bearded man emerged, his forced smile unsettling, apologizing for not seeing me. Sensing danger, I fled to my car as he called out with a creepy tone, offering cash. The now latched gate forced a risky grass detour around it, escaping footsteps behind. Later, I learned the preserve prohibited camping, hinting at a sinister intent that still unnerves me. The intruder at the data center, working overnight at a data center in a small warehouse. I monitored systems, restarting them during rare outages, a simple job allowing personal time. Bored and considering quitting, I arrived at 10 p.m. one night, parking near the wooded backlot. Binging a Netflix show after initial checks, I faced few issues, typically one quick fix twice weekly. 2 hours in, a system disconnection alert sent me to the storage room's far corner where a power cable lay unplugged, unheard of for its secure design. Reconnecting it, I patrolled the aisles, hearing a heavy thump like a door closing in the silent building. Unsure of the layout, I returned to my desk, but minutes later, rapid footsteps in the adjacent corridor startled me. Checking, I saw a distant door close. Venturing further, I called out in an empty hallway with office doors, retreating as one swung open, glimpsing a man fleeing. I escaped via the fire exit, calling police, who found no one after a half-hour search, likely gone into the woods. The cable incident suggested he'd bumped it while sneaking, and a company investigation hinted at undetected entry, possibly to avoid exposure, leaving me grateful to have escaped his unclear plans. Unnerving nighttime tales. The gas station stalker. Last year, I embarked on a solo road trip from Wisconsin to Montana, planning to drive overnight to save on hotel costs. After leaving at 7 p.m., the first hour passed through urban areas, but soon I was on desolate roads flanked by forests and fields, with sparse gas stations every 15 miles. 2 hours in, I stopped at a small, empty station with 4 pumps and a closed convenience store. The pump was slow, taking a minute per gallon, so I waited, leaning against my car. A car approached slowly, well below the 55 mph limit, passed, then reversed dangerously to pull in behind me. A tall man in a gray flannel and black jeans exited but didn't pump gas, staring at me intently. I nodded awkwardly, but his gaze persisted until he finally started fueling. Unsettled, I left after partially filling my tank. 3 hours later, around midnight, rain intensified the drive's exhaustion. By 1 a.m., needing a break and low on gas, I stopped at another rundown station, filled up, and parked to nap for 30 minutes. Waking after 25 minutes to the same car at the pumps but no man in sight. I panicked. Starting my car, I saw him in my back seat through the mirror, his eyes piercing. I leapt out as the car rolled backward, running into the woods. He drove off in my car, leaving his behind, which held a phone I used to call 911. Police revealed it was stolen, its owner less fortunate than me. The man, likely planning to ambush me on the road, remains at large, along with my car. The secluded home intrusion. Last January, in my small, woodsy town 45 minutes from the city, I had a half day at work, freeing my evening. Around 7 p.m., a friend called, needing a ride home due to car trouble. I agreed, grabbing my jacket and keys, but froze upon opening my door. A man in a heavy coat and black neck scarf stood inches away on my porch. Unfazed by my startle, he apologized, claiming he was about to knock and asked for someone I wasn't. He left, and I ensured he was gone before driving to pick up my friend. We grabbed food at a fast food joint, and I dropped him off by 9 p.m. Returning home in light snow, I settled on the couch with the TV. Hours later, heading to bed, I recalled the man and checked the peephole, nothing. But opening the door, I saw fresh shoe prints in the snow, leading from the road up my driveway, past my car, and into the yard. Alarmed, I called 911, hearing faint noises during the call. A violent thud hit the back of the house, followed by another, revealing a figure at the back door, attempting to break in with a weapon. I grabbed my keys, sprinted to my car, and escaped as the operator advised. Police later found the back door forced open, with wet shoe prints inside, but no one present. The man from earlier matched the description, though unconfirmed, leaving me grateful I'd encountered him earlier otherwise. I might have been asleep during the break-in. The babysitting break-in. In 2019, as a college sophomore, I babysat 3 to 4 nights a week to pay off my car, including a weekly gig for a 3-year-old boy. The soft-spoken parents left around bedtime, returning after 4 or 5 hours, possibly for city date nights. One evening, arriving at 8 p.m., they confirmed the child was asleep and left. I did a house walkthrough, then sat in the living room, passing time on my phone. Within an hour, the mother called, asking if I'd dialed her from an unknown number. She'd answered a silent call. I hadn't, and reassured her all was well. 20 minutes later, headlights illuminated the front windows. Peeking out, I saw a rusty gray sedan with blacked-out windows parked at the curb, a man standing near the driveway, staring at the house. He returned to his car after a minute, driving off slowly, stopping down the road and turning off his lights. I stayed by the window for 5 minutes, but he didn't return, so I resumed my night, turning on the TV quietly. 2 hours later, half asleep, I heard a light thump. A second thump alerted me, and passing the hallway, I saw a man at the back door, yanking the handle. He escalated to breaking it open as I grabbed the child and fled upstairs, then out the front door as he breached the house, wielding a knife. I drove to safety, calling 911 and the parents. He escaped, but I suspect he aimed to kidnap the child, possibly the mother's ex, as the parents cut contact afterward, leaving unanswered questions that linger years later. Unsettling rural incidents. The stalker on the outskirts. I live in northern Utah, near a small highway town with little more than a few stores, truck stops, and a motel along the main road. Dirt roads lead to scattered homes and vast private lands of forest and fields. On a typical day, after finishing remote work at 6 p.m., I drove into town to shop for groceries. The highway, despite its purpose, was quiet, and the store was uncrowded. While shopping, I noticed a man staring at me in an aisle. Initially dismissing it as a coincidence, I saw him again minutes later in another empty aisle, standing 5-6 feet away, motionless and watching me. I greeted him, but he didn't respond. Feeling uneasy, I quickly finished, paid, and headed to my car parked at the lot's far end. Glancing back, I saw him between cars, staring again, empty-handed. Suspecting he was a sleep-deprived trucker, I drove home along dark dirt roads. After unloading some groceries, a call from my dad delayed me, but I returned outside for the rest. In the darkness, I spotted a truck on my 40-acre property, lights off, not there when I arrived. Cautiously retrieving my groceries, I theorized it might be a driver resting to avoid motel costs, though its presence on my land was odd. Inside, I kept watch through the curtains, growing less anxious over an hour as the truck stayed put. After watching TV, I went to bed, but awoke around 2 or 3 a.m. to use the bathroom. Opening the door, I heard a downstairs creak, unusual for my home. Looking down the stairs, I saw a shadow moving in the hallway, lit faintly by moonlight. Heart racing, I retreated to my room, called the police quietly, and waited. Slow footsteps crossed the living room below. Police arrived, catching the man, the same one from the store, fleeing to his truck. Armed, he claimed robbery, but his lack of a bag and personal focus suggested otherwise, possibly watching me all night with darker intentions. The cabin imposter. Last summer, on a road trip home after visiting relatives, I drove 4 hours daily to various stops. On the final 8-hour leg through dense woods, I booked a cozy Airbnb cabin 2 hours away, preferring it over roadside motels. Arriving at 8 p.m., the cabin sat amid flat land with scattered trees, a row of pines lining the gravel driveway. Though the exterior felt eerie, the renovated interior was welcoming. After settling in with drive-through food, a knock startled me. 10 minutes later, no car or footsteps preceded it. A man in his 40s with a grey-black beard and shaved head claimed to be the host, ensuring I was settled. I confirmed all was well, noting his strong fieldwork odor, and he left. Assuming he lived nearby, I continued eating, then showered. 5 minutes in, feeling tired, I went to bed, but another knock came, no prior sounds again. Uncomfortable, I checked my phone, no messages. He knocked repeatedly, asking to open the door for a quick question. I declined, citing the late hour, and after a tense minute of silence, I checked the door's window. He was gone, without audible footsteps on the gravel. Alarmed, I froze, then saw his eyes through a living room window. Panicking, I called 911 from the bedroom, hearing him attempt to lift the window, odd, as a host should have a key. Police confirmed he wasn't the host. He fled before their arrival. Contacting the real owner, I realized he'd been lying. His intentions unclear but sinister, leaving me grateful I didn't open the door. The Minnesota cabin threat. During spring break at 18, my family, me, my mom, and my 7-year-old brother traveled to a Minnesota cabin for a week, partly to scout small towns for a potential move. The remote cabin, 35 minutes from shops, was a test of rural living, far from our urban norm. After a 10-hour drive, arriving at sunset, the old cabin creaked but suited our needs. We settled in, using the wood-burning fireplace, and I napped through the evening. My mom and brother went to bed by 8:30 p.m., but I stayed up, drawn to the back porch, a small deck with a fire pit and chairs. The quiet night, with only birds and rustling trees, was refreshing, though chilly. I lit the fire pit with nearby logs, enjoying the rare experience for 30 minutes, until a sharp sound, like an axe striking wood, echoed from the forest. It seemed close, but in the pitch black, I saw nothing. Uneasy after 5 more minutes, I extinguished the fire and returned inside. Still not tired, I watched a downloaded movie in the living room. 15 minutes in, faint noises, possibly the cabin creaking or wind, unsettled me again. A louder sound came from the wall beside me, near a window, followed by aggressive knocks on the front door, shaking the walls. My mom, awakened, called 911 as I checked the peephole, seeing a man with an axe staring at the door. He continued banging silently, then struck the door with the axe, piercing it slightly. We hid in the farthest room, hearing more hits before they stopped. Police arrived in 15 minutes, finding gashes in the door, but no man he'd likely fled into the forest. The campfire may have drawn him, but his motives and presence with an axe remain unknown. We left immediately and didn't relocate there. Disturbing nighttime encounters. The storm and the intruder. On a Monday night, after finishing work at 8 p.m., I returned to my quiet home empty since my divorce months prior and settled in to game online with friends, my usual routine. A thunderstorm with flash flood warnings was forecast, but such alerts were common and rarely serious here. Around 11 p.m., mid-game, a fierce gust shook the house, rain pounding down. Suddenly, my screen and lights flickered off briefly before rebooting. But then, everything cut out completely. PC, lights, everything. In pitch darkness, I used my phone's flashlight to check the front window. The storm obscured whether neighbors also lost power. I texted my friends I'd likely be offline for the night and retrieved a battery bank from the basement to power a lamp. Hearing a noise behind me, possibly the storm, I dismissed it and set up the lamp in the living room. Uncomfortable sleeping without power, I watched YouTube on my phone via data. An hour later, I stepped onto the porch. Some neighbors had lights on, confusing me. A search for outages yielded nothing, but a text from an unknown number warned of downed lines and outages no official ID like from a utility company. Listening to videos while watching the storm, I heard a distinct footstep on the creaky basement stairs. The door, which I'd closed, was now wide open. Shining my light down revealed nothing, but unease grew. Heavy footsteps then charged up the stairs. I slammed my body against the door as someone tried to force it open, pounding relentlessly. Dialing 911, I heard them retreat as I fled to my car. Police found no one, but confirmed the text was fake, sent from a personal phone. The intruder had cut my power, targeting me specifically, possibly using the text to keep me from checking the basement breaker, their motives unknown and chilling. The forest camping ambush. Last summer, my friend Henry and I, novice campers, sought a more adventurous trip, choosing a remote forest site 3 hours away, a 4-hour hike in, with few reviews suggesting it'd be quiet. We parked at a deserted dirt lot off an unused road, the trail overgrown and neglected. Mid-afternoon, we reached the site, a grassy hill with a forest overlook, clearly unused for years. Setting up, I noticed movement below while Henry unpacked a group of 4 or 5 figures moving through the dense trees, not at the campsite. They vanished before Henry could see. We spent the afternoon relaxing, building a campfire as night fell. Hours later, faint voices echoed from the forest, too distant to discern, unsettling us. The voices stopped abruptly, followed by a single set of footsteps approaching. A man in a red baseball cap with wavy black hair emerged, smiling widely, asking for the trail. I pointed it out, asking if he was with the others we'd heard. His smile dropped briefly before he denied seeing anyone, claiming to hike alone, then left. His lie was obvious. He came from the voice's direction. Discussing this for 30 minutes, an eerie feeling of being watched grew. Henry suggested leaving. As we packed and extinguished the fire, a footstep crunched behind us. In darkness, my flashlight revealed the same man, staring blankly 10-15 feet away, smiling again. We sprinted down the trail, hearing multiple footsteps chasing us, some from the woods before they faded. We reached the car unharmed but shaken, driving off. We haven't camped since, unsure of their intentions in that remote forest. The Hotel Night Stalker. In spring 2021, as a 24-year-old studying out of state, I drove 2 days to visit family during an early spring break, preferring the road over flying. Leaving Tuesday morning, I drove 10 hours, stopping only for essentials. By 8 p.m., exhausted, I searched for a hotel at a gas station in a remote area. A map directed me down a dimly lit road behind the station, through a quaint old town, to a small, aged hotel. The empty lot and dim lobby were silent, no staff initially. A startled woman emerged, checked me in, and gave me a room at the hall's end. The modest, family-run hotel room was basic. I relaxed on the sofa, scrolling on my phone, and dozed off. At 11 p.m., loud banging on my door jolted me awake. No one was there. The silent hallway offered no clues, leaving me doubting the knock's source. After a shower, I set an alarm for 8 a.m. and slept, but more banging woke me again. Opening the door revealed nothing. Frustrated, I confronted the front desk woman, who insisted I was the only guest. Returning to my room, I secured the locks and lay down, but turning on my phone illuminated a figure in the corner, motionless, watching. As I scrambled to unlock the door, they charged at me. I sprinted to the lobby. The woman called 911 as the man fled outside, not using a car. Police confirmed he'd slipped in during my earlier inquiry, his motives unclear. I left immediately, the experience remaining my most terrifying, with no answers about his intentions.